position. Even wiser you fall, I'm on a mission, bringing my dreams to fruition. I ain't playing at all. Bring out the body bags, I'm about to kill them, deliver them to the mortician. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's for my face, back in my face. I gotta do what I gotta do. I pray to God, he never came. I'ma do me, I'ma do me. That's in my blood, I'll never change. That's in my blood, I'll never change. That's in my blood, I'll never change.
You are watching the 8:05 post show. What an exciting day of action. We're well into the waiting period, but the opening day of competition after a serious wait. We all knew this swell was going to come and bring the biggest surf of this amazing waiting period. I think the biggest set of the day just came through. Thanks for being with us, Joe Turpel, Rosie Hodge, and Barton Lynch for an incredible day to get things going. We already had to say goodbye to 4 of our athletes dealing with the elimination round. That came up really quick, Ro.
Yeah, today was amazing. I think for us watching, it was exciting. I think for the athletes, it was super draining. It was so tough out there.
And we saw it change drastically from the morning, that rip taking everyone into the impact zone as the swell got bigger. Everything else changed in the lineup as well.
Yeah, and it seemed like it kind of had a little midday siesta almost, and it just settled into itself, and it felt like it was what it was. And this afternoon, the last half hour there, the last couple of sets were the biggest sets of the day for sure. And you could see they swung a little more north too. They didn't have that straight west, which makes the lineup even more confused. And so it'll come down a little bit overnight, perhaps, and be great tomorrow.
It was a bit tough to make those predictions as well today, on a day like today. Seeing guys like Kemper getting sent to the elimination round. Griffin Colapinto's had back-to-back finals in the past. It wasn't that easy to predict those usual suspects that have had good results here behind them.
Yeah, definitely. I think Sunset was, you know, the spanner in the works for a lot of the athletes today, just because it was just such a vast playing field. Some of the normal lineups that you'd take into consideration really didn't come into play today.
And also just looking at some of the names that did well at Pipe, all forced into the elimination round. Obviously, Kelly brought some drama as well. Barton from being on top of the world, and then everyone questioning how he would be performing at a wave that, you know, maybe he didn't have any success at before.
Yeah, from the #1 in the yellow jersey into the elimination round just like that. And he recovered from that really well. And I think that, you know, this event, particularly through those morning heats, we were seeing boards flapping around and people looking really uncomfortable. And as the day went on, people started to dial in Sunset and start to understand the mode, because you can't go at it like you want. You've got to go at it as it allows you to, you know.
Well, we just finished the last heat of the day, and that was won by Kaio Ibeli. Kaio's with Laura.
Yes, Kaio was just telling me about how wild it was out there. Kaio almost said you got a 2-wave hold down. As scary as that is, how scary was it being in that round 2? All 3 of you had just made semis or above at Pipeline, and to be out there must have been pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like this morning, I had a shocker in my first heat. It's so tough to shake it up that first round when you lose. So yeah, I try to go home and regroup, and yeah, it's wild out there. Like I almost got a 2-wave hold down. Seth looked at me and I was coughing, almost throwing up. We were pretty much sitting in the channel. Like he was like, "Hey, what do we do? Like, where are we?" Like we're in the middle of nowhere, and like it's actually closing out the channel right now. So it's crazy. Super stoked to make. I feel like I'm still here, like with the opportunity I got as a wild card. So I need to make the most out of it.
Amazing. And what did you jump up to on your equipment just then?
Yeah, I'm on a 6.8. I've been surfing on a 6.8 the last few days. This board feels magic. It's just so hard to dial things up like right in the contest because it didn't have waves like the last few days. So yeah, it feels good. I'm stoked. I feel like maybe a little bigger fin, I'll be able to like push harder, but yeah, it's awesome.
And looking forward to the next few days, the swell forecast looks pretty amazing. You've battled with the toughest conditions now, so it should hopefully be a lot easier for you now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel just like on the man-to-man heat, gonna be like more manageable, like when you're you and another guy. So the conditions should improve the next few days, and it's gonna be an awesome event. That's why I really want to make more heats.
Amazing. Well done, Kyle. We look forward to seeing you in the round of 32. Back to you guys.
Thanks a lot, Laura. Best start to date for Caio Ibelli as he survives a very challenging one. Caio was in that last elimination heat with Seth Moniz, who currently number 2 in the world, and also Miguel Pupo, who kicked off 3rd in the world. So heavily stacked numbers-wise with momentum from Pipeline. Nobody wanted to go down in this one, Rosie.
Yeah, this was a scary heat on paper, but also just mentioning how the conditions changed. To this last half an hour, things really started to ramp up in the ocean.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Caio kind of find his form. He's a guy that learns a lot from every heat. You can tell he wants to make board changes even for the next round coming up, maybe even a bigger fin. So I feel like that extra heat today only was going to play in Caio's favor, BL, because he's a quick learner.
And in everyone who got to surf that, when it's, it's a big, gnarly day and you come back the following day and it's smaller and controlled and you've been calibrated by the day before it and you kind of build confidence out of that. So for all of these guys, particularly the ones that had the heats with the big sets coming through, that'll put them in good stead for when things settle and moderate a bit.
And being in the last heat of the day, they certainly had the biggest challenge with the biggest sets that were pouring through. So a job well done for Caio and Seth Moniz. Moniz still hanging on to world number 2 as he's into the round of 32. And unfortunately for Miguel Pupo, eliminated from competition, saying bye to some big names like Koa Smith, who was exciting to watch out here as well. Jordy Lawler as well fell victim to that elimination round. Now Pupo as well, which is tough for him after such a great start at the season opener.
Yeah, it just shows you. I mean, Hawaii just has those highs and lows. You can start at a place like Pipeline, surf out of your skin, come to Sunset, and it can just get skunked. So it's a tough one to swallow.
Well, one man that was very impressive today. I guess what you expect is a man named Ezekiel Lau. Coming here to Sunset Beach, he knows he has expectations. Multiple-time World Cup champ out here. And the way he won his heat this morning was incredible because it wasn't easy. And he saved the best for the last, BL.
Yeah, he's an amazing performer, isn't he? It feels like you're watching Sonny Garcia all over again. So many similarities, so powerful, so strong, and got that Hawaiian mana connection to Sunset Beach.
And it was a crazy heat because it featured this man, Italo Ferreira, who started off swinging. He actually controlled this heat against the 2 Hawaiians from Zeke Lau and also Billy Kemper, 6'5", 6'7", and Zeke and Billy were really having a sleepy first half of the matchup, bro.
It did feel like Italo was running away from the heat with the heat, and then 3rd and 2nd place kept changing hands. But for Zeke to hold his composure to the last ride of the heat and turn it around, that was pretty impressive, and it just shows, his mental fortitude.
So calm out here. I remember talking to him a couple of years ago, and he's like, I just feel good at Sunset. I don't free surf there that often. He's actually been putting in more reps out of this lineup more recently, and he's got a whole new sight set and a kind of a brand new lease on life on tour. After falling off a couple of times already in his career, now he's back, and with Sunset on the calendar, that's only going to play into Lau's advantage.
Yeah, I think we've been seeing, generally speaking, more and more pro surfers surfing Sunset with the digital Triple Crown and the events. It's been the most pro'd it's been in years in the last couple, So it's definitely sort of back on people's radar, where for quite a while there it had fallen off, and the pros would never come and surf up here, but it's definitely changed in the last few years.
And for Zeke now, where does he go, Ro? I mean, he's been on tour. What are the goals that you'd want him to achieve at this point in his career on the championship tour?
Yeah, I think for Zeke, his potential lays ahead of him. I think he still has so much ground to cover in his career. He's looking at event wins and then starting to look at that top 5 picture. So it's going to be interesting to watch Zeke put together a full season.
And also thinking about loving this wave, and also he loves bells. He calls that his favorite event on tour, which is great that that's in the first half before that midseason cut.
Yeah, fantastic. And he's a warrior. He's a competitor. He loves competing and he likes challenging himself. And so that's the sort of person it takes, who can take those lickings, take the losses, take the defeats, and just keep coming back. And they're the ones that rise.
Well, like anywhere in the world, and for good reason, all eyes on the GOAT at all times. He gets more attention than anybody, especially kicking off the season, number 1 in the world. First time that he's been in bright yellow since 2014 at Fiji. And what a heat he had, especially with some power surfers like Matthew McGillivray and also the late caller for Koa Smith, Rosie.
Yeah, it was interesting watching Kelly's demeanor out at Sunset. He seemed to just figure it out. He went to different equipment in this elimination round, and it looked like he was having a lot of fun, which is so cool to see Kelly kind of switch into that fun gear.
Then the ultra smooth McGillivray just makes so much sense with his rail at Sunset Beach, BL.
Yeah, beautifully put, he does. He makes sense of wild conditions and put on a great performance today. Kelly certainly improved a lot from the first heat to the second heat. You can see he slowed things down, went to the thruster, was driving that rail beautifully, and the two of these guys put on a real show.
And pretty interesting. It came down to a decision on the sands. Rosie, your take on that? It was incredibly close. You know, Koa needed a 5.9. He ended up, falling short, getting that 5.6 number. And I don't know, it was pretty devastated after that result, Rosie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Kelly going over for the high five and the number rolls in and Kelly gets the nod, BL.
You know, I've got to say it.
What do you got for us?
Surfing's an energetic thing, you know what I mean? And the energy permeates through to judges, through to us, through to everybody. And that energy influences things. And I feel like if it was anyone but Kelly Slater, he might have got the score today, because it was just so close. But when it's Kelly Slater and it's in this situation and he's just put on a performance that's better than the one before and the momentum's going, you need to take it out of the judge's hands and not make it close. And if it's close energetically, things go the way the energy's going, and no one can dispute that the energy's going Kelly's way at this point in time. It's an emotional moment for him, and what he did at Pipeline will go down in the history books forever. And what he started to do today, I thought, he was right on that knife's edge. I thought he was going to fall off and he might get the score, but it's the power of Kelly and the fact that he just keeps giving. And if you're going to beat the best, you can't just squeak past the best. That's not going to work for you. So
it had that question mark on the last wave where one judge even threw a 6.5. He was going, yep, that was it. And then the all other scores factored in, and it just brought down the average just under. Koa shook it off, and he's moving on to the next one, as Kelly will also be in the round of 32. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back to the 8:05 post show, we'll go through the top 5 of opening day. You are watching the 8:05 post show, completing the opening round and the elimination round for the men today, and we still have a lot on tap. First, let's get into a pretty wild wipeout reel from the morning. Jordy had that awkward stumble. Remember, he's nursing that bad toe. But I think every single heat we had multiple wipeouts that you really wouldn't have wanted to felt yourself, Rosie.
No, this is horrible. And I think a lot of these wipeouts, once the adrenaline wears off, that's when you start to feel it. When you go to bed tonight, I think a lot of these guys are going to soak in a nice hot bath. Wow.
I guess it is inevitable, right, BL? I mean, surf like this, you're pushing it as hard as you can. Jackson Baker, he did wipe out pretty badly there, but he was ripping as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand on days like today.
It sure does. And, you know, it's the old got to pay to play. And, you know, 2 rides, you might fall on 5, but as long as you finish 2, you can still win.
Big hold down here at Sunset. Rosie, how different does it feel compared to other venues around the world? Is it comparable to anywhere else?
No, Hawaii is a whole nother animal. I mean, you get ragdolled. I mean, Sunset has more power in its little pinky finger than anywhere else that you're going to go in the world. And I just feel like, yeah, you take a beating here.
Well, we knew today was going to be big. Let's talk through the Surfline forecast to see what we could have tomorrow. A lot of action, including the women waiting for their start, and also the round of 32 is set up. Big thanks to Surfline. BL, what are we seeing?
Well, there it is. There's that large west-northwest swell peaking today. And you can see the winds are meant to come up a little more out of that northeast, so coming sort of side shore, side offshore. So that's going to add a whole nother element to the challenge that is Sunset Beach.
More solid pulses through the 18th through the 23rd. A lot to choose from. The thing is, we're talking about today being massive. Tomorrow, it's hanging in there. It's still gigantic, so you can't really relax into tomorrow's competition.
It's going to be back-to-back days of competition for these women and men to compete, so you are going to have that endurance in your favor.
So looking at still what they're calling maybe 15-plus faces tomorrow as it's still bombing and then trimming down the day after. So we're still seeing some bigger boards and an advantage for everyone who had a couple of reps today, kind of ironing out their equipment. There was the heat where Joao Chianca and Felipe Toledo really had to buy with Kai moving out. So they're probably missing out on just feeling Sunset today, and they're going to have to start from scratch tomorrow, potentially.
Yeah, it's a really good point. You'd much rather surf and get through than walk through and not have surfed. No question about that.
Well, it's time for the top 5 of opening day of competition. Coming up at number 5, Baron Mamiya gets redemption on the goat. Remember, he lost with 2 seconds on the clock when he surfed a stellar heated pipeline. Well, this one went a completely different way, Rosie.
Yeah, cool to watch Baron's approach. I think he surfs that smaller equipment, and he does so well. Keeps it high performance, BL.
Totally, and was so smooth and so controlled. Kelly was on a quad in that first heat, didn't look comfortable on it. That made that change in equipment, that definitely helped him. But Baron Mamiya, he looks so strong, and he could potentially win this event. He is that good.
He is surfing so well. He loves riding shorter boards, but he puts in a lot of time. I think he's famous for his highlight reel at Backdoor and Pipeline, but he's just as dangerous here. Kind of left Kelly out of the mix a bit, as he was also chasing Callum Robson as well, Ro.
Yeah, it was interesting watching Callum come in that second place, avoid the elimination round, and Kelly found himself in that third place spot.
Welcome to the daily top 5. Imai Kalani DeVault coming in at number 4, earning the ride of the day, BL.
Another Hawaiian 893, and you see the comfort level. That's what you see when you come to Hawaii and you watch the locals. Crazy inside, a lip launching floater there and just attacked it. But a great heat and just a level of confidence and comfort that only comes from living here.
I was talking to his coach, Pedro, and he was like, Imai, let's just show who you are. Your surfing, your brand. Let's just get your opener and surf clean, and then do whatever you want from there. And kind of he had that just mindset. He simplified it, get that first score, and then unleash. Next thing you know, he's got the formula to get the top score of the day.
Yeah, he had a tough go at Pipeline. He had to turn that result around. I mean, this trainer's left the station, and Imai, he regathered himself.
South Africa really proud with this man, Matthew McGillivray. Absolutely looking comfortable in bombing conditions at Sunset, Barton.
He was lacquer today, Brew. I tell you what, eh?
That was really good. Well done.
Good. He really did. And we've seen it from him before. We know what his capability and potential is out here.
Also, Jake Marshall charged on some bombs at Pipe, but was knocked out early. Different story at Sunset Beach. He looked real comfy today.
Yeah, fun to chat to Jake after this heat and get his take on what he thinks about Sunset. He says that he spends a lot of time surfing out here, and you can tell the advantage that gives him.
Great to see how comfy he is with some power behind him, laying down some beautiful carving work. And, this heat also had Jack Robinson that was kind of sucking all the hype his way for good reason, being a former champ. And for Jake to get a win over Robbo today, big for his confidence moving forward.
Yeah, great win. And back in the early days before he'd left Hurley, Jake Marshall, and it was back, we had some coaching together. He was a natural out here at Sunset.
Number 1 on the top 5 here on the 805 post show. It'll be Kelly Slater and Koa Smith, the battle at the buzzer. We had some nice controlled turns from Kelly. This was his second heat of the day. and looking to avoid elimination. Remember, we talked about his early losses at this venue throughout his career, and maybe just the lack of surfs that he's had at this wave. So he's figuring everything out on the fly. For Koa, maybe a bit more experience, and I was really impressed with how Koa gave himself a shot at the buzzer here, Rosie.
Yeah, this is it. I think the 5.9 is what was required on this wave for Koa to turn the heat on Kelly Slater. This is the turn of substance that he really gets off there, BL. And yeah, I mean, it really was one of those heats decided on the sand.
Chasing that high 5, it came at a mid-range 5, and Kelly and Koa are right next to each other. They're good friends. And Kelly at first was thinking maybe that was it. It was that close of a decision because Koa gave it everything he got on that final move. The GOAT lives to surf another day at Sunset Beach. Do you think he's just going to improve round after round at this venue? And does he have a shot at winning this event? Normally, you don't really say that with Kelly because he's expected to win everywhere, but I think it's fair here at Sunset. What do you think, Barton?
I think winning here is a bigger challenge than it would be winning at Pipeline. You know, I think that's categoric fact. And he needs to really concentrate and channel some good energy. He talked about channeling some of the things Sonny may have said to him earlier, and it's all up here for Kelly. If Kelly gets that together, the win's potentially right there. If he doesn't, you know, it could be could have lost in that elimination round already. So I think he can win it, though. I really do. Yeah,
and he's got some momentum running into the round of 32. Rosie, we still have the women on deck as they make their return to Sunset Beach. You were involved in those last CT events. So what are you looking forward to seeing potentially tomorrow?
Oh, all of it. I'm really hoping that the women get to hit the water in some size. I think the ladies that we're seeing on the championship tour at the moment, they've just grown into this place so well, and it's been a couple of years that we've seen them competing. So I think this year, the talent level and just the way that the ladies are going for it is going to be a fun challenge.
Talk about redemption. I mean, Chris Amore, 5-time world champ, gold medalist. She'll get to hang out with Moana Jones again. How's that one going to play out, Barton?
Yeah, it's super interesting. Stephanie Gilmore actually able to surf in the event is going to be amazing, you know, and I feel like she'll have something inside there, a little bit of fire after missing out at Pipeline that will kick her onto something great too. And I was talking to Courtney Conlon before, and she would like it to be like this. So I think, you know, regardless of what the conditions are like, there's going to be enough swell to make it a challenge.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Barton Lynch and Rosie Hodge. For now, we will say goodbye for the rest of the afternoon. Join us first thing in the morning for the call for the Hurley Pro Sunset Beach presented by Shiseido, and we'll leave you with the highlights of the day. See you in the morning. This is the Hurley Pro Sunset Beach presented by Shiseido.
That swell that we're anticipating, it has arrived in a big way.
Huge peaks are coming in. You're actually running for your life.
I'm ready.
Big section for Jordy, lays into it, somehow recovers.
That is Kanoa Igarashi. Attacking the top of the wave there.
Nice hook for Chatty Baby. And a more aggressive turn on the steep inside section.
And here we go with Ezekiel Lau.
Lau off the bottom, jams it. Total control for the two-turn combination.
Let's watch Imai, our heat leader, attacking that first lip.
And puts it down.
John Florence on fire in the barrel at Sunset.
Wow.
Not done yet.
Whoa,
Couple of
sick.
big turns from Kolohe Andino.
Let's watch Jake right now. Carving off the top. Another clean carve.
As we've got the snap from Kelly. Frontside carve for McGillivray into the pit. The South African makes it. Here comes Koa Smith. Driving into the lip. Koa Smith free falls down to the bottom.
Billy Kemper up into the lip.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in